So as I said earlier in the week, I was headed down one path and all of a sudden the path changed. And not only is it a different Thanksgiving, it's a different talk. And slowly I have become able to trust that process. Someone who prepares and has plans and maybe is a little too analytical about it all. It just seems every once in a while it just shakes everything up. I don't know if you ever have that in your life happen. But it seems that those shake-ups are good, especially if we learn to appreciate those and go with those, go with that flow. So we're going to give it a whirl and see what happens. So looking at Thanksgiving, which is coming up, so my question to you, what does Thanksgiving Day mean to you? What's it mean? The holiday was set for us to give thanks, right? But it became all about food and family and football and all of these things around it. None of those are a bad thing. They're all good, right? Food is good. I like good food. I like good football. I like family as long as we're not into the drama and dysfunction. I don't know, maybe some of you don't experience that when you get together with brothers and sisters. But I have. I'm sure some of you. And it kind of all goes together. But where this is headed today is Thanksgiving traditionally is about doing things, right? And again, they're not bad. They're good things. They're doing things. But today I want to take a look at something different, a little bit deeper, about how we can look at Thanksgiving in a different way, possibly, and how do we get there? What are the steps for us to be able to go to another level of gratitude, another level of Thanksgiving? All right? Because right now it's a day. It's a day of doing things. It's kind of what it's become. Giving thanks, attitude of gratitude, being thankful for, like I said, the meals, the food, the football, all those things are things about doing that, but I want to take a look at something much deeper than that and possibly much broader for us. How many of you have done gratitude journals? You hear me say this often. Pick up what works for you, drop what doesn't. Gratitude journals didn't work for me. I was given this gift of a gorgeous gratitude journal. It had gold on the lead, the pages, and expensive paper. And they even gave prompts to try to get you there. And I forget whether it was 25 or 50 or 100. Find 25 or 50 or 100 things you're grateful for every day and write them down. Well, day one, I never got there. I got to about 20 maybe. Day two, I got to about 5, and day 3, I was like, this is on my last nerve. Right? I'm kind of a bottom line guy. There's like 3 things I'm grateful for, that's enough. And I had to put it away. I've never touched it. It was in some yard sale someday. It's okay. It's okay for you, it's okay for me. There will be practices that don't work. There'll be other people who will get so turned on by doing a gratitude journal that they just go to a place of complete bliss. It's okay too. Do what works for you. Do what resonates with your being, and don't let anyone else tell you what's right for you to do, because they don't know. I don't know. No one knows but you, and you know inside your heart where your truth is. But I didn't want to trash all gratitude journals because I know it works for a lot of people. It just didn't work for me. It was one of those that I had to set down and kept moving. But it was a lot of doing, right? And you can do a lot of doing and never, ever, ever have it touch your beingness. You can do 1,000 affirmations every day. and never touch who you are. Right? And we don't want that to be part of our journey. We want the things that change us at depth, that change our consciousness, that changes our beingness, because that's how we begin to move to a different level. So today I want to look at Thanksgiving more as a state of mind. Being instead of doing. Not celebrating one day, but living from there. Having it be the way we start our day. Having it be the way we end our day. And everything in between there, we can move to a place of gratitude and thanksgiving and appreciation, which I believe is possible for each and every one of us. Buddha taught this 500-600 years before Jesus showed up. That's 2,600 years ago. This is not new news. I'm not standing here with a new idea. This is old stuff. But those who grab a hold of it, it changes them at depth. Living a thankful life. So which one are you? Half full or half empty person? Now I know you're saying, well, there's a right answer because I'm at Unity Harrisburg. That's not the question. The question is, who are you when you're not at Unity Harrisburg? Do you wake up and see the world as being half empty or half full? I have a third proposal for us today. How about if we show up as the glass overflowing? Half empty, half full really isn't the question. The question is, are you willing to be so full of spirit? Are you willing to be so full of the pure energy that flows through you, the life force, the chi, the ki, God, whatever words you want to put to it? Are you willing to let that be how you show up in the world? You know, I like my little cartoons. It's so hot outside, I feel like I'm walking on the sun. And she said, oh, please, you have to keep going there. And look what he says. Yeah, I thought I needed to complain about the weather so life would feel normal. It would feel normal to me. Now, I know nobody at Unity Harrisburg does this. But there are people in the world who complain about the weather. Really, they do. A lot. You ever notice that? I'm like, well, why are you picking on the weather? But I'm using weather today as just a kind of a mundane life thing that happens. It can be, you can complain about your spouse, you can complain about your parents and the way they raised you, or the president, or the economy, or the minister. You can complain about a whole list of thousands of things. And what you're doing is trying to make life normal. And you say, well, that's a silly thing. No, it's really not, because that's how you were domesticated. That's how you were raised, were you not? In judging and condemning and criticizing and complaining and comparing. I like this one. I'm going to complain about the weather and just sit inside and do nothing. We know of people with those attitudes. And then finally, people who complain about the weather being hot or cold, like, really? It happens every year. It happens every year. This is not a big deal. You can put any word in there for the weather. It can be anything. You know what your parents were. It's not changing. They were the way they were. They did the best they could, and here you are. Why do we go back there and complain about these things along the path? And we're going to put this in the context of some of what we've already learned. These are our attitudes, are they not? Or states of mind, or consciousness. Use whatever word works for you. But who chooses these? You do for you. I do for me. Just because that's what you were domesticated up to the time you were 7 doesn't mean 40 years later you got to continue to do those things. You can choose differently today. And we're going to take a look at how we do that and how we can begin to understand it. But I have a question for you. Do your attitudes, do your state of mind, does your consciousness affect your vibration and how you show up today? It does, doesn't it? If you start your day complaining about the weather, and I know I'm picking on the weather because that's a pretty mundane thing. As you pick on the weather, what happens to your vibration? When you begin to complain, what happens to your energy? What happens to your focus? What happens to your attention? It begins to go lower and lower and lower. And what happens when you show up and you're at work and all of a sudden you got 3 other people joining in and go, oh yeah, it's hot like I just walked on the sun. What happens to the energy of the group? And you begin to feed off of each other. Now again, I know that doesn't happen for folks at Unity Harrisburg, but I've watched it happen with me. Right? So what do we do about that? How do we begin to change that? Well, the first piece is awareness. Becoming aware of not only our thoughts, but what we speak. And not only what we think, but what we speak, but what we feel, and who we hang out with, and what they're speaking and feeling. Now, there are some people you can't change. I mean, you've got a boss that's like that. You either change a job or you learn to deal with them, right? And many people do. They change jobs for that reason, because the energy is just not right. And that's a legitimate reason in my mind to change jobs, because you're going to spend a lot of time with that person. And they're just some people who trigger you and get on your last nerve, right? Or am I the only one that ever experienced that? But that's real. This is what happens in life. And how do we work through that? And how do we go to a place where we can stay in what we want to vibrate to? Because here's the key question. If these attitudes and states of minds and consciousness affect your vibration, they affect your what? Life. They have to. It's the law. What attracts what? Like attracts like. If I'm going to complain and get negative about the weather, what am I going to attract into my life? Not just weather. Because I'm vibrating in a negative, complaining place. I'm going to bring more for me to complain about, am I not? The law shall not be mocked. It is always true. What we have in consciousness, what we have in our attitude, creates the vibration that brings to us everything that is what? Like it. It cannot be any other way. Now that sounds like, oh my, I got to be so careful about a word, but that's part of it. But the other side of it is how empowering that I can begin to change this attitude. I can begin to change the vibration of my energy, and I can begin to change what comes. So let's talk about what causes attitudes of gratitude or thanksgiving. The cause of it. Thanksgiving's on the other end of the stick. And gratitude. That's after it happened, right? Oh, I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for that. It's after the event. It's at this end of the stick. But how do we get from here to there? What is the cause of this? And I'm going to propose this word today. You are my acceptance creates the state of mind of thanksgiving. Our acceptance of what? Of it all. Acceptance of life, acceptance of ourselves, acceptance of all others. Somehow this teaching got dropped out, especially in the Western side. It's taught very much in the Taoism and some of the Hindu and Buddhist teachings. But in the Christian side, we missed it completely. In the Western side, we teach exclusion. We teach we only know the way. Everyone else is going to hell or some other place. That is not acceptance. And it's an absolute, complete, and total violation of the law of equality which runs the universe. There is no special. Not in your religion, not in your race, not in your gender, not in your how much money's in your bank account. Or not anything special about you spiritually. There is nothing special in the law of equality. We are all equal. All equal. It's why the United States was so powerful for so long, because if you look at how it wrote, it was sacred language. It was written into the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Was it not? It was in complete, total alignment with the law of equality, that everyone is the same. There is no special, there is no superior, there's no inferior. And until we learn to accept ourselves from there, we cannot offer acceptance to other people or for life. Our willingness to leave the consciousness of labels and duality behind. What part of you and me labels? What part of you and me labels others? The ego, the persona. What does the ego do? Edge God out. How do we edge God out? We make ourselves separate. We make ourselves special. I'm better than they are. That's ego. There's nothing about God in that at all. And if we come from that place, we cannot be in alignment with Spirit. We cannot be in alignment with the Creator who made everything equal. The law of equality must be practiced in your mind, in my mind, in my life, in yours. Or we distance ourselves. We are watching it in the world today. We're watching in the United States today as more and more people are separating and think they're superior to others. It is the way to completely, totally destroy the country. It's an equality. It's an acceptance of your difference from me. It's okay, we're equal. It's how this country became so great. It's how you and I, from a spiritual standpoint, on a journey in alignment with the law of equality, will become better. Moving into a consciousness of unity and oneness. They are absolutely polarized. Separateness, specialness, exclusion versus unity and oneness. This universe is built on a consciousness of unity and oneness. We're all one. We're all equal. No one's better. No one's worse. No one's less. No one's more. How do we do this? Here's where I start. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. It's not Charlie being bad. Charlie's not here, right? It's not Charlie being bad. It's Charlie being Charlie. He's been that way for 42 years. Charlie ain't changing. But I can accept Charlie for who he is, as an equal, and understand what he might be going through or not going through, and not judging that. Not, in my mind, not even being superior spiritually. Oh, I did 14 ohms this morning and meditated for 15 minutes. Who cares? All of that gets thrown away if you're not in a place of acceptance of Charlie. The law of equality has to be honored in our thoughts and in our minds and in everything that we do. God is. Life is. You and I are. And everyone else that you interact with, everyone else that's still playing in your head for free from your past, they just are who they are. They're not good. They're not bad. You're not superior. You're not inferior. They're equal to you. And you're equal to them. When we begin to set up superiority, I'm better than, or I do this better than them, guess what you set up? the inferiority within yourself. Because you will always find there's someone then better than you. But if you learn to begin to come from equality and accept everyone for who they are, all of this drama and dynamics and dysfunction goes away. So here's a process that I use and I'm going to share today. And we'll do it with breathing, because I'm all about we got to do this together, not just listen to the words. So when I breathe in, I breathe this up, and I'll go through it with you. As I'm breathing in, I can accept myself as I am right now. If you can't come to acceptance of yourself, you will never be able to accept others or life. Okay? And we're going to do that 3 times, and I'll walk you through it as we do it. The second one is I can accept others as they are right now. We're taking the acceptance from here and begin to build it out into the people we know. And finally, the third one is I can accept life as it is right now. You willing to try it? All right. Let's close our eyes. Take a couple deep breaths. On the exhale, just release anything that's coming up. I mean, thoughts like, well, Reverend Dan's nuts. You can let that go. It's okay. I can accept you for thinking I'm nuts. So we're going to do it 3 times. We're going to breathe up. So start to breathe in. I can accept myself as I am right now. Take it up and hold it for a second. And then just release. Second one, I can accept myself as I am right now. Let it go. And the third one, I can accept myself as I am right now. And this time on the exhale, just hold it. Just let your breathing just come in and out like the waves. And feel the acceptance of yourself. Can you totally accept yourself right now? Right here, right now. What does that feel like? What's the energy around accepting myself? Just as I am right now. We're going to expand our power of acceptance, that energy. There's an energy to it. I want you to get in touch with that feeling, that energy. So in the next one, we're going to breathe up. I can accept others as they are right now. And let it exhale. Breathing up again. I can accept others as they are right now. Let it go. And finally, breathing up, I can accept others as they are right now. And this time on the exhale, feel the power of acceptance expanding from your heart. You're accepting yourself, now you're accepting all others. Getting wider, spiraling out. Includes your immediate family, includes your loved ones, includes your friends, includes the people at Unity Harrisburg, it includes everyone that you come in contact with. How's that feel? And then number 3, we're going to breathe up. I can accept life as it is right now. And let it exhale. On the inhale, I can accept life as it is right now. Exhale. And finally, I can accept life as it is right now. And this time on exhale, let your acceptance of yourself, all others, and now all life. How's that feel? There's nothing to complain about. There's nothing to judge. I'm accepting life as it is. This power that you're feeling, this energy, this state of mind that you have takes you to real thanksgiving, takes you to real gratitude, an attitude of gratitude for everything that you have. Life, I accept life as it unfolds. It may be a little different than what you've been domesticated to. It may be a little different than what you've been trained to. It may be a little different than what you've been doing. But I will tell you this, if you're willing to practice this the next week and breathe up all three and really get to a power and feel the energy of acceptance for yourself and for others and then for all of life. What do you think happens to your vibration now? What do you think just happened to your vibration right now? You went up the pyramid. You went up wherever you were. You're moving up. Remember, the top is number one, is bliss. We will never get to bliss if we don't learn to accept ourselves, others, and life. As I said, allow yourself time to feel that. I call it marinate. I like to marinate in the energy. Let it sink in what complete and total acceptance feels like. Because the more you allow that, the more you have it as a baseline to go back to. When during the week you get pulled away for whatever reason. And the number one reason why you're going to get it pulled away, I'm going to talk about now. So how do we move into a deeper acceptance? Because as we looked at Thanksgiving and gratitude, we came to acceptance. Now I'm going to go with the cause before acceptance. Deeper. The way to get there is we begin to drop all judgments and labels from our speech. Now we're doing really good with that here at Unity Harrisburg. In the 4.5 years I've been here, I hear less judgment, criticism, condemnation, complaining than I did when I got here. So much more, better. But we have further to go because that's only step one, is getting careful about what we speak out. The real work begins with what we think. How much do we judge in our minds? Now I'm going to invite you to try something this week. And I'm not even going to ask you to do it for a day because it will overwhelm you. Take an hour and become self-aware, become conscious of your judging thoughts and how fast they come and how all-embracing they can be. I don't care whether you're in the car driving, you're at Target going in a line, in a grocery store, at work, at church. Our thoughts are judging all the time if we're not self-aware. Now, it sounds like an impossible task to control your thoughts for all the time. It is. But it happens in steps. It happens in your awareness of, I don't want this for me. I want to create something else for me. And just that desire begins to shift for you. Your consciousness, your attitude, your state of mind. Here's what we want to create. Our judge-free zone. In our own minds. Begin to drop the judgments. And guess where the most judgments are? About you. About me, you about you. And so many of these have been running at a subconscious level until you raise your awareness and begin to put the magnifying glass and say, for the next hour, I am going to be conscious of every thought I have about myself, others, and life. And watch what begins to happen. That awareness itself will allow you to begin very, very clear that this is running subconsciously, unconsciously below the surface. And when you bring it to the surface, the light will destroy it. And you'll see yourself becoming less and less and less judgmental of yourself. and then the rest will work as we talk. You know, I love these cartoons about ministers and religion because they get it. Huh. So you just told him he has a splinter in his eye, but you have a beam in yours. Meanwhile, the person saying this has a trunk in theirs, right? This is a really, really powerful cartoon for all of us. Because as we are in our spiritual journey, it's very, very easy to get locked into spiritual judgment, spiritual pride. Well, I meditate 15 minutes a day. That person obviously didn't. That's none of my business. That's a judgment on my part. I have no idea where someone's coming from. That person's coming out of their fear. That's not my job. My job is to go to judge-free zone and look at the thing coming out of my own eye. You know, Jesus said it another way. He who's never sinned or never made a mistake, be the first to pick up the stone. You notice in the story, not one person picked up a stone. So these judgments are very subtle and they're very deep. And we've got to be very careful because spiritual pride is the worst of all pride. The fall is greater than all. It's said again and again, not only in the scripture, the Bible, but in all spiritual teachers. It's why you see one of the things that I have to be so careful as a minister. It's what happens to a lot of people that get into the spiritual jobs. You see so many of them fall. Why do they fall? They fall because they get caught up into the judgments and the spiritual pride. And I'm doing it better than this one. Because the law of equality, what follows that is the law of humility. And we have to have both. Understanding we're all equal and understanding I'm not better than anyone. And it's in the journey together that we continue to grow. I love this. The mind is constantly showing, judging. It's like soap bubbles. But maybe soap bubbles has more substance than your thoughts. We make our thoughts so important, do we not? Oh, I had that thought. So what? It's just a thought. Could be a soap bubble. No more substance in it. What happens to soap bubbles? They're gone. Don't engage every thought that comes on, especially if it falls into the judgment piece. Let it flow by. Because it's going to go over here and burst in a matter of seconds. And then there'll be more, and there'll be more, and there'll be more, and just let them go. And you say, okay, what do I want here? I want to stay focused on the judge-free zone. Judging a person does not define who they are. It defines who you are. So judge less, appreciate more, accept more. We are all in this together on this journey. And as we begin to drop our judgments of others, we begin to accept ourselves. That's the issue, right? If I don't feel comfortable with myself, if I'm coming from an old wound or unworthiness, whatever it's going to be, what am I going to do? I'm going to project it onto you. Because if I project it onto you, I think it makes me feel a little bit better. For a second, it may. But guess what happens and what comes back? Back to me. So it's only a moment of feeling better and projecting through our judgments. And as we begin to drop the judgments, our acceptance and appreciation comes up, our love comes up, and we live in a place of thanksgiving and gratitude, truly every moment of every day. Do not judge my story by the chapter you walked in on. How many times have you seen someone walk in the chapter of your life and want to tell you, well, you need to do this, right? But I want to turn this around for me. I don't want to judge someone else by the chapter I walk in on. I don't know their whole story. I don't know what they've been through. And if I do, I begin to assume, and if I assume, I'm judging. Don't walk in on the chapter. You all know Clint Eastwood? Go ahead and make my day. This is his quote. Before you judge me, make sure you're perfect. But it also applies to me. Before I judge you, make sure I'm perfect. There ain't no perfect humans. There's only perfect in the divine. So if we follow Clint Eastwood's teachings here, it's actually very, very good, is that until I'm perfect, I have no right to judge you. And until you're perfect, you have no right to judge me. Guess what? There'll be no more judgment. Right? There are no perfect humans. I never saw Clint Eastwood as a spiritual teacher before. But it's kind of cool. He was there with that one, wasn't he? And then the last one I share. Think before you speak. Our words cut. Cut without blood. And if we're not judging and we're accepting, we're not going to hurt with our words. So I used the very same that we just did. We're going to breathe up 3 times and allow yourself to feel what it feels like to actually drop judgments of yourself. Now, I know I'm not the only one in this room who judges myself. I know that to be true. We all do. We were all trained to. So just take a couple breaths and relax into it. And on the inhale, I drop all judges myself right now. Exhale. Let it out. On the inhale, I drop all judgments of myself right now. Finally, I drop all judgments of myself right now. And this time on the exhale, just feel it. What does it feel like in this very second to have be in a judge-free zone about yourself? Dropped all judgments. It allows you to move to acceptance and a place of gratitude that you're exactly okay where you are in this moment, right here, right now. You don't have to fix anything. Just have to remember who you are. And the second one is judgment of others. Let's breathe it in. I drop all judgments of others right now. Let it exhale. Inhale. I drop all judgments of others right now. Exhale. And finally, I drop all judgments of others right now. Allow yourself to feel the power of that judge-free zone going from your being out into your world of people you interact with. No judgments of parents, no judgments of teachers, no judgments of bosses, spouses, friends, children. No judgment of anyone that you interact with. Feel the freedom that comes with that. And finally, number 3, breathing up, I drop all judgments of life right now. Exhale. I drop all judgments of life right now. And I drop all judgments of life right now. Feel what it feels like in this nanosecond, in this right here, right now, to have 0 judgments, judge-free zone of yourself, others, and life. Just willing to stand and sit and be you. Okay with you, okay with life, okay with all others. yourself to feel that power of the divine. Because with God, or Spirit, or Source, you're perfect. Just the way you are in this moment. As we drop our judgments and learn to accept one, we enter the middle way. Again, it was a teaching from Buddha 500-600 years before Jesus. No coincidence that Jesus talked about his teaching as the way. What is it? It's tranquility, it's stability, it's ease, it's grace, it's bliss. Everything's okay. And you allow life to unfold in this present moment. No thoughts for the past. Stop dragging all the stuff from the past with you. It's heavy. No worries, no anxiety, no concern of the future. It isn't here. It's here and now. Everything's okay. And I'm okay. And everyone around me is okay. That's the middle way. Rumi said this, the middle path is the way to wisdom. I believe that's true. And he also said this, it's your road and yours alone. Others may walk it with you, but no one can walk it for you. It's yours to do, it's mine to do. And in this Thanksgiving of 2021, let everything be okay with you, with everyone else around you, and with life. And if you will do that, you begin to walk a new middle way path at a higher level. It's light-filled. It will go in front of you, and it will show you where to go next. Havaz said this, a great poet out of the desert, and I like this when you're remembering it during the week. I wish I could show you when you're lonely or in darkness, the astonishing bright of your own being, the astonishing light of your own being. You are that bright. And the judgments and the condemnation and the criticism takes you off being. It dims your light. You know, the Master Teacher Jesus said, you are the light to the world. If you and I are our biggest and greatest and brightest light to the world, who will be? I don't see a lot of people coming forward to be big lights to the world. It's your job and it's my job. And the more we can drop all of this and move into a true life of thanksgiving and gratitude, our light becomes brighter and brighter for everyone we interact with, and collectively with the whole world. We raise that consciousness and that light.